When Arnold Schwarzenegger has had enough of your crap, you better look out because he will stop at nothing to see your ass dead. Released in 1985, Commando tells the story of Matrix. Nope, not that Matrix. This one, John Matrix, played by the big man himself. An ex-Special Forces soldier whom is forced out of retirement to kick butt again after an ex-member of his team, Bennett, kidnaps his daughter in a scheme where in order to save her life, he must commit a political assassination in the fictional South American country of Val Verde. But instead, Matrix decides to get his kill on and face Bennett and his evil Freddie Mercury mustache and stylish metal vest. So buckle up and get ready for action as we look into 10 amazing facts about Commando, the kick-ass fuel-injected Arnie movie. Ugh, the smell of it!
Hey, hold it.
I'll be back, Bennett.
I'll be ready, John.
Number 10. Commando came from the mind of a comic book genius. If you've ever watched Commando and felt like the action and plot was a little over the top and like something out of a comic book, well, that's because it was the creation of a comic book extraordinaire. Originally, Commando was a screenplay written by comic book writer Jeff Loeb, whom has written comics for superheroes such as Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Captain America, Daredevil, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and many more. In fact, one of his greatest achievements was writing Batman: The Long Halloween, which was a major influencer for the 2008 fan favourite The Dark Knight. The same year Commando came out, Loeb also wrote the screenplay for the Michael J. Fox werewolf comedy Teen Wolf, which also has many superhero and comic book elements. And who knows, maybe Commando would have made one rocking comic book series, as with great power comes great responsibility to kick butt. Number 9. Before Arnie, the story was going to be different. In Loeb's original script, the character of Matrix was going to be an ex-Israeli soldier whom had decided to start afresh in life and turn his back on violence, before getting thrusted back into action. However, when Arnold Schwarzenegger got involved in the project, scriptwriter Stephen E. D'Souza got on board to make rewrites in order for the script to cater more to Schwarzenegger. At the time, Arnie had become an action movie megastar after appearing in the Conan films and The Terminator, and his image of a tough action hero full of one-liners was really starting to take shape.
And I'm Vic. We're here to make your trip as comfortable as possible. Thank you and have a seat.
And do me a favor. Don't disturb my friend. He's dead tired.
And Souza knew a thing or two about action movies, as he previously wrote 48 Hours, and would go on to write screenplays for The Running Man, Die Hard, and, The Flintstones too, apparently! Number 8. The fictional Hollywood country. Commando's ridiculously over the top but still awesome climax where Matrix sets out to defeat all the baddies and save his daughter takes place in Val Verde, which is a made-up South American country created by Commando scriptwriter Stephen E. D'Souza, as previously mentioned. However, Val Verde may be a made-up place, it is still actually an important one in the history of action movies, as the country gets mentioned again in other movies written by Souza, such as Die Hard 2, in which the main villain, General Raymond Esperanza, is from the fictional country, and Souza has even explained that Predator takes place in the jungles of Val Verde. So it's confirmed, Commando, Die Hard, and Predator all take place in the same universe. Yes! Number 7. Commando has one of the most hilarious death cries ever. In Commando, actor David Patrick Kelly plays slimeball villain Sully. He may be lacking in physical strength, but he makes up for it in sleaze. And there is a memorable scene where Sully meets his maker when Matrix holds him over a cliff and drops him to his doom. Director Mark L. Lester originally wanted Schwarzenegger to dangle Kelly without any technical support, but just by his sheer strength, to to which Arnie refused and thought the idea was crazy, so a crane was used. However, that didn't help the unintentionally hilarious death cry Kelly provides for his death scream, in which he yells out "Ooh la la."
I lied.
Yeah, ooh la la.
Ooh la la!
La la la.
This is without a doubt one funny death cry, and just goes with the awesome cheesiness of the movie. Who knows, maybe Sully saw a pretty woman on his way down there and multitasked and said "ooh la la" while screaming to his death. I don't know. Number 6, Commando was no match for Back to the Future. Commando was the 7th highest grossing R-rated movie of 1985, making $57.5 million on a $10 million budget. It came out the same year as fellow action movie Rambo First Blood Part 2, which starred Sylvester Stallone, and having two similar movies about a one-man killing machine taking down entire armies added fuel to the popular Schwarzenegger vs. Stallone trope. But Matrix's biggest rival wasn't Rambo, but rather Marty McFly, as Commando was nominated for a Best Special Effects Saturn Award, but lost to the impossibly popular Back to the Future. Well, that movie did have a time-traveling DeLorean, so I guess that stands to reason. But still, Commando should have won an award for Best Death Cry. Number 5, Original Director. Action movie director John McTiernan was the first choice for directing Commando, but he bailed out of the project to direct Nomads instead. However, not only did McTiernan direct Arnie's next big blockbuster, Predator, which after Commando was Arnie's second movie with 20th Century Fox, but he also directed Die Hard as well. So in other words, he would have been a pretty awesome director for Commando. The directing duties of Commando were given to Mark L. Lester, who previously directed Firestarter, and would go on to direct Showdown in Little Tokyo, among many others. And he does a pretty good job on Commando and has a sharp eye for quick, fast action. Number 4, cut scenes and arms. In the sequence where Matrix attacks an entire army, there is a scene where he cuts a villain's arm off. The scene had to be, well, cut, at least for a few seconds when released on home media. But it is popular belief that in the cut scene, Matrix held the arm up to the villain's face and asks him if he needs a hand. But contrary to popular belief, this was never filmed, but there was a longer scene of Matrix throwing the disembodied arm. There was, however, a love scene filmed between the Matrix and Cindy character, who was played by Ray Dawn Chong. But it was felt that the scene looked really awkward, so it was scrapped. Which does make viewers confused as to why the character turns up playing Happy Families at the end with Matrix and his daughter, when there was no prior hint of any romance. Number 3, there is a reason that Bennett's metal vest doesn't fit. In Commando, Vern Wells plays Bennett, the main villain in the movie, who was an ex-soldier of Matrix, who armed with his tash and metal vest seeks revenge. If you have ever watched Commando and thought the vest looks way too small for Wells, that's because originally a different actor with a smaller frame was cast in the role, but the original actor playing Bennett left the part. But by the time Wells got the role, they didn't have enough time to make a new vest, and, well, how could you possibly waste such a beautiful vest like that one? So instead, Bennett was left with a vest that was maybe a bit too small for his girth. Wells described his character as being Freddie Mercury on steroids, and was apparently so intense while filming the end fight scene, Schwarzenegger told the director not to give Wells a real knife.
Let off some steam, Bennett.
As for the role of Matrix himself, the original choice by the story's creator Jeff Loeb was Gene Simmons, but the studio wanted Nick Nolte, but both turned the part down. So, Arnie it was. Good choice. And speaking of cast, for all those who missed it, that's Bill Paxton playing the Air Patrol guy. Pretty cool, huh? This is actually the second of 3 appearances he would make in a Schwarzenegger movie, the first being the punk in The Terminator, then of course the Air Patrol guy in Commando, and then finally the sleazy car salesman in True Lies. Number 2, action figures. Yeah, as crazy as it sounds, Commando was accompanied by an action figure lineup. Yeah, a violent R-rated movie was converted into toys for kids. The lineup was released by Diamond Toy Makers in an attempt to cash in on the new G.I. Joe craze at the time. Matrix was now accompanied by new soldiers not seen in the movie, called the C-Team, of which I don't even want to imagine what the C stands for, who must do battle with an evil organisation called Fear, led by a villain called Psycho. In other words, it really had nothing to do with the movie, and who knows, had the toys been successful, we may have gotten a Commando cartoon series. There were 2 different lineups, smaller standard figures and larger bulkier ones with cloth clothing. I love Arnie's face here, it looks like he's about to offer me a pain sandwich. It's a shame that there wasn't an action figure of Sully. You know, they could have had a button on his back and you push it and he screams out ooh la la. Number 1, there was a Commando sequel and it was Die Hard. Okay, the title of this segment might sound confusing, but just bear with me. As early as 1986, 1 year after the release of Commando, there was plans to make Commando 2. As with the first movie, Stephen E. DeSouza was developing the script. He was basing the script off the book Nothing Lasts Forever, in which a retired cop visits a skyscraper during its Christmas celebrations to visit his daughter, only for the building to be taken over by terrorists. In Commando 2's case, it would have been Matrix visiting the building to visit his daughter Jenny. However, during the movie's production, Schwarzenegger got bored with the project and dropped out. So instead, the script still went forward, but now with a new character which became John McClane, who was played by Bruce Willis. And instead of visiting his daughter, he was now visiting his estranged wife. And the movie became Die Hard. So, in a weird way, Matrix and John McClane are one and the same. Commando is a guilty pleasure, but it's a very fun and very well made guilty pleasure at that. I always get tons of enjoyment out of it, and its cheesiness just adds to its charm and makes the movie that bit more awesome. And well, who could say no to a bit of kick-ass action, so definitely check it out. Anyway, I'm Minty, and I'll be back. Oh, my back. Oh, see ya. Yes, I stole that joke from Spider-Man 2.